She's been away far too long. Sounds like a Barack Obama speech, doesn't it? So it's time for Faith Goldy to return as our token young person to discuss the week's events. Hello.
Hello, Michael. How are you?
Your name's really hyphenated, though, isn't it?
It is.
It's Faith Goldy
Bezos.
But I don't like that word. It's so hard to say. I prefer Faith Goldy.
That thick British accent.
Yeah, sounds a bit foreign to it. Let's begin. My monologue today was terribly misogynistic. All I said was that while I believe in equality, of course, between genders, it doesn't mean that people are the same, equal, but not identical. Women in frontline roles in combat, I don't think we should aspire to have women kill and die for a country, but I'm sure now I will be attacked as a terrible sexist. But where do you stand on that?
I'm not going to attack you, Michael, but I will disagree with you. I think so long as they meet the same requirement that male soldiers are asked to meet, then it's really no problem. I think in matters of, say, conscription, obviously no one's there right now, as a female, I would feel obligated to serve, though probably not a frontline position.
Well, that's the difference. Serving is one thing. Well, first of all, the average, say, 185, 190-pound man is going to be more powerful than an average 115-pound woman, and we can lie and trim, but it's not just, you could be a martial arts expert, and obviously a lot of military combat is shooting, and a woman could be a better sniper.
Exactly.
But what does it say about a culture when a woman who does nurture and have a child, and motherhood is meant to be cherished, when we're saying we now want you to kill and die for our country? Doesn't that devalue us as a people?
I'm a big believer in this saying, as women go, so go the world. To borrow a line from Rick Santorum, it doesn't take a village to raise a family. It takes a village to raise a child, rather. It takes a family to raise a child.
Yes, he was mocking Hillary Clinton, wasn't he? Yeah.
Yes, he
It takes a village. Hillary, it does actually. It just takes a mother, so stop running around the world and raise your child.
And a father as well. Yeah. However, I do believe that there are differences between the genders, the sexes, and I do believe that it's a woman's job to be nurturing and to provide that sort of care. And chivalry is more left to the man. I'm a traditionalist this way. However, I do realize that we live in a progressive world, and women would like to have all the same opportunities as men.
Or is it some women and some men? Look, I'm not saying that I'd be a good frontline soldier. I want to be in the catering corps if anything happens. I don't want to particularly fight. It's not really about courage. Women are generally braver than men. They give birth to children. But we marginalise motherhood. We say that women should leave the home as quickly as possible. Don't raise your children at home. Is there something wrong with you? But we say they should be on the front line. Those countries that fight a lot of the time, that have to, you think of India and Israel, they've rejected the idea. They say it doesn't work.
Yes, but if you look at modern military strategy and tactics, like you said, it's largely operating guns and heavy artillery. That if these women are capable to press the button, to pull the trigger, I don't see anything that should really stop them from enlisting in frontline roles.
Honest, visceral reaction. Young woman killed in combat, young man killed in combat. Equal reaction?
Yes.
OK, all right. The Australian Prime Minister, a woman, good Prime Minister, actually, she was speaking, she was in a restaurant, a lot of glass windows and doors. Now, there's an occupation camp outside the Parliament building in Canberra.
Right.
Dirty tents, all that sort of rubbish. She said it might be time for it to move on. She said it might be time for this to move on. That's all she said. She's a decent woman. She's on the left, centre-left, really. An Aboriginal group began to smash their way in. She was frightened, understandably. Her bodyguard got her out of here. You can see her holding onto the bodyguard. She fell. She lost. If we think of Canada and what is happening here with Caledonia, the violence that is so frequent now, I'm really tired. I'm really tired of white people having to apologise the whole time. I'm not going to apologise that a native person, an Aboriginal person, abuses their child. That's not my fault. You have to take responsibility for your actions.
Well, look, these people are obviously have grievances and wanted to protest, and I support the right to protest. However, I do not support essentially the exercise of violence, especially when it's intimidation factors against a head of state. With respect to being specific to the Native community, within Canada and within Australia, we have abandoned and segregated our Aboriginal communities. And perhaps it's a bit more mainstream in Canada to see that as wrong, as opposed to Australian culture. However, the punishment does not suit the crime. Violence with violence, wrong with wrong is not going to accomplish anything.
You say crime. What happened 150 years ago, 100 years ago is one thing. My family certainly weren't here. And most people watching now, probably their families weren't here. We pumped billions of dollars into native communities. Almost free education at university. I wish I had that for my kids. Cost me a lot of money. We've bent over backwards. Look, in Australia, the Australian Army was sent in to an Aboriginal community to stop the incredible number of children being raped by their fathers.
Right, I understand. But Michael, our idea of how we're helping them is not no help at all, because we're giving them a handout as opposed to help up.
So take the money away.
It needs to be completely restructured. Long-term and emergency crises platforms have to be established. Right. But I think that this idea of handouts is, I mean, like you said, 150 years.
And get rid of this idea of victimhood. I mean, if you are a Polish Catholic, Ukrainian, a European Jew, Irish Catholic, you've probably come from a background and a history where life wasn't great. You know?
Exactly.
There was a lot of oppression, so there's not a unique status of victimhood. The Ontario Liberal government has said, because money is short here, if you want a C-section, hysterectomy, other forms of surgery, if it's elective, if you want it, it's not absolutely necessary, you have to pay for it. I'm okay with that.
Yes.
But 98% of all abortions in Ontario are elective. Oh, I've got a holiday booked. Work is going too well at the moment. But they will not touch the funding for that. Why is that?
I'm not entirely sure, perhaps to capitalize on female voters who want to say, my body, my choice. Look, I'm willing to discuss things from with anyone on any side of the spectrum. However, abortion is an issue that I am unwavering about. Yeah. I believe in the right to life. It's the first unalienable right. And the fact that Canada has such loose, essentially no legislation around it is appalling. Yeah. I was quoted within the interim not too long ago while Ontario was having the defund abortion rally outside of Queen's Park. As you know, not to get anecdotal, but this is real life. My mother is ill. Her testing was delayed by 2 weeks because a CT scan machine was broken at St. Michael's Hospital. Meanwhile, women are aborting fetuses, and that $30 million within this province alone, Michael, is going towards the ruthless slaughter of unborn children, as opposed to my mother who needed emergency treatment. And like you said, it's an elective thing. And within a PEI, it's much less common that there's public funding of elective surgeries, namely abortion. Okay. And now the national party, the federal party rather, of the Liberals are coming out, oh, well, you know, we're going to deny them health transfers unless they really...
Very briefly, British Prime Minister has said a free trade agreement with Canada. This is interesting because Britain is moving away from Europe, and Canada, our relationship with the US is not as strong as it was. Free trade between Canada and the UK, what do you think?
Yes, of course, and this is rooted in Stephen Harper, who is pro-Western liberalization, small L, free trade. It's sound economics. Canada is open for business. The EU and Britain alike need a pro-business agenda. Canada is,
open for business.
Open for business, and you know what? Stephen Harper does not need to sell Canada because the facts speak for themselves.
They do. Oh my golly! 2 weeks in Britain, Canada is revered internationally in terms of our economy. Although I have to say, Liberal Finance Minister Paul Martin did a pretty good job.
Paul Martin and Coren, Forbes rated us #1 for foreign destination, most attractive, #1 in coastlines, #1 in uranium, first supplier, #1 supplier of oil and energy to the United States, lowest GDP.
You should be our roving ambassador.
No.
Got to go out of time.
Okay.
Faith Goldy.
Always a swell time with you here, Michael.
Thank you so much.